It's a real wide angle. Usually zoom in a little bit. But no, yeah, screw it. We're going to keep the wide angle today. What's up, kids? How you doing today? I'm doing well. We're well into lockdown now. Lockdown may have even been alleviated from what it was, which is a massive mistake. I'm just going to say that now, so it's on record. You can alleviate lockdown all you want, but it doesn't really make the virus go away, does it? No, it doesn't. What it does is it gives it an opportunity to rise again. So essentially, sacrificing lives for the economy. Congratulations, you terrible human being. But I'm not going to discuss that today. I'm not doing a lockdown podcast. I'm not discussing that at length. But you may notice a few differences in the sense of my hair has gotten a lot curlier because it's gotten a lot longer. You may notice that I don't know. I feel like I haven't recorded a solo podcast in a very long time. Like, they've gone up because you've seen them, but a lot of those ones were recorded quite early in the year. And even if I do like a quick check now, if I go find my files and stuff like that, where are we going? Pod 2020. Last solo podcast was 115. Episode 115. We have had a lot of episodes. The file was created... Just having a quick check of the old details. A little bit of interlude here. Details. Yeah, so I recorded that in February. That's how long ago it was. That's how well prepared I was, even before we knew lockdown was coming. I mean, we didn't even know about the virus back then. And I was in February, so it's been a while. Been a few months, because I've been busy. I've been doing stuff. I've been getting stuff on the way. And it felt weird to kind of sit down and record a solo podcast. I'd been doing daily streams now. I've been doing them throughout lockdown. Every single day I go on stream. I record, drawing myself sketching for a half hour. So a lot of ideas are being discussed there. So when I sat down to make a solo podcast with a thought out topic, it became a thought of, what do I do? But the daily stream I thought was a great example of something which I do quite a lot and something which I know I've mentioned before, which is just essentially challenging myself. I've been doing it every single day, which it sounds like a lot, but when I'm in lockdown because I'm not leaving the house, I got a lot of free time. So dedicating half hour a day to doing a stream isn't that hard. It's not a hard thing, but I've done things like this before. I've done Inktober. I've done 365 challenge where I did a set of drawing every single day for a year, and that was harder because I was fitting it around things. I was fitting it around different places, different functions, different things I had to go do, family events and stuff like that. This is isolated. This is just me killing time, essentially. All you're really doing is watching me practice, which I do anyway. So, it's give or take. But I do these things a lot. I've mentioned it before. I did Couch to 5K, still running. I gave up coffee for a month. That was dreadful. It was a dreadful time. But I do this a lot. I get out of my way to do challenges, and I stumbled across the YouTube channel today. I'm going to give him a shout out. He's a huge YouTuber. He's called Bo Miles. And I think he's Australian or New Zealand, one of the two. But essentially, he's just a guy. But he does a lot of jogging and stuff like that, and he also does a few self-experiments, and that's what I realised. What my stuff is. That's what all these little things I do is. They're self-experiments. They're experiments on me to see how I will react. They're little challenges I present myself. And he made a really interesting point in the idea of it. So the one I watched was he essentially ate beans for 40 days. There's a paragraph or a half paragraph in John Steinbeck a John Steinbeck book which discusses eating beans, and he liked beans, so he was like, okay, well, what if I just ate nothing but beans? What if I ate my body weight in beans? And it took him 40 days, and at the end of it, he ran a 50k marathon. Now, that's pretty crazy in itself, and that's a huge feat as a human being. But midway through, he got discussing this idea of why, a lot of people ask him why you do something like that. And that is a question which I've had many times posed to me. Why are you giving up coffee, Graham? You love coffee. You run off coffee. It's basically the main thing you do. My camera's about to stop. Why is my camera about to stop? Hold up. Alright, quick interlude there whilst I corrected my card. Alright. What was it saying? Oh man, I've gone off track. Where was I? But yeah, the little self-experiments. And people have asked me why I kind of go. And I've explained before. I like to challenge myself. I like to find what I'm good at. I like to explore that and see what I can do with that. But I also like to vary it up and just kind of push myself a little bit. See what I can do in a time frame. Lockdown is great for that. It's been, so many moments where I've just been like, what if I don't do this today? What if I do this every single day? What if I keep going with this? And loads of little things like that. And it's testing how your body, mind reacts to these things. And if you're in a fairly stable situation, which I am, and I know I'm quite privileged to be, I find it incredibly easy. Now, the comment he makes in the thing is why you would get enjoyment from doing this thing. Why he, would push himself to this level. And there was a great comment he made. Oh, man, that's good coffee. There's a great comment he made. Sorry, I've been drinking crap coffee. I bought 2 cans of coffee. Prepped myself for this. When I was at Sainsbury's, I bought 2 cans of coffee. I'm getting off track already. Where one's like a brand name, barista style instant coffee. And the other one's like a Sainsbury's style, barista style instant coffee. And the Sainsbury's coffee just tastes like dirt, but I'm not the kind of person who can throw things away, so especially with food, so I'm using it either way. It's just happening. I'm grim and bearing my way through it, but this is the first time in like a few days where I've had good cafetiere coffee, so back on point. But he makes this comment where he's kind of running along and saying that there's a mild pleasure in doing something like this, something experimental on yourself, because you remove yourself from everyone else by doing it. You're not making yourself feel like you're superior to anyone, and you're not making yourself feel like you're doing better than anyone else, because most of the time when you're running these experiments, you feel like crap. You're going through a lot. You're trying to figure out how to deal with things best. Your body's trying to figure out how to react to what you're doing to it. And there's a lot of that kind of temperament, but there's this satisfaction in knowing that you're removed from essentially society at a singular point. And I've found this a few times, where you're kind of wandering around and you're doing something. It's almost like having a secret. It's like having a secret which you can't tell anybody else, even though you're discussing it a lot. And you know that as soon as you walk into every single place, you're like, yeah, you know what? None of these people know what I'm up to. Yet I'm doing it. I'm going out of my way. And there's a weird satisfaction of curiosity within that you set up this thing. And I think it says a lot about our own society. It says a lot about how we've structured society. And you can get into the ins and outs of capitalism and consumerism and all these things. And people will say one extreme to another. People will say, we need houses, structures, jobs, blah, 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 in order to create a sustainable society, which means generations and genealogies continue for years and years and years, and this is the safest way to do it. Others will say, no, we need to go completely the other direction. We need to get rid of consumerism, get rid of capitalism, and reduce ourselves to a more hand-to-mouth life, and basically simplify everything and spend more time doing the things we enjoy and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, my reality, my view is that we need to find a balance, but we don't have that balance. But in our current society and how we have the society we have, you can look at it and go, if you're thinking you're doing everything the same every day, if you're thinking your life consists of a job, hanging out with your partner, hanging out on your own, hanging out with your friends, maybe going out for a drink, you want something to break that. And some people will do this in hugely destructive ways. Some people will take this upon themselves to break it in such a way which is more dramatic. But you can find simpler ways to do that. And doing these self-experiments, I think, is a way of doing that. It's definitely a way of doing that for me. It's a way of taking something within every single part of my life and going, oh, well, all of this fits together so nicely. What if it didn't fit together so nicely? What if it was more of a challenge? And that's what I constantly do. I constantly find a balance of what I'm comfortable with and go, oh, okay. So everything works if I go down this path. What if I go down another path? And I'm not trying to destroy everything I've created. I'm not being self-destructive. I'm not being self-depreciating. Surprisingly. I'm not doing that. Essentially, all I'm doing is testing myself. I'm putting in constructive, controlled experiments in order to combat the future in a way. And there's a real weird satisfaction to that. There's a real satisfaction to self-experimentation, because as well, the thing I love about self-experiment, what I love about a lot of these YouTube channels. So one of my favorite YouTubers is Wheezy Waya. Wheezy Waya is someone I have followed for a very long time. Not since he started, because I wasn't aware of him. I got super into vlogs and I got super into YouTubers. Basically, it wasn't during uni. It was just after uni. It was the 2 years after uni. When I was kind of between jobs and come out of uni, and I didn't really know what I was doing, and I got super into YouTubers. So I started making vlogs. I mean, some of you on this channel will know me from when I started making vlogs. Some of you who don't know you're subscribed to me probably know that I've made vlogs and now I do podcasts. It's a weird little path I've taken, but it's a journey I've taken, and it was like, one of the people I discovered, along with like the Green Brothers, and I'm struggling to think of YouTubers' names. This is how far I mean, Zay Frank is a huge someone I find so funny. But Wheezy Waya was one of these guys, and he started making videos because he, like me, had a background in interest in film and TV and all those kinds of things, and he wanted to make films. And he decided, I can make little short vlog stories, and they were a bit more surreal than regular vlogs. It wasn't just, here's my day, how's I'm doing, and this is this, and you need to go and do this, and full of jump cuts and all that. No, it was more constructive. It was more, here's a joke, and he was trying to make it funny, and I thought that was great. And now he's progressed through that. He's grown and developed as a channel, as you do, and he basically got to a point where he just started doing these little experiments. And doing these social experiments, and it was like, he's one of those people who started doing, what if I go do 10,000 steps a day? What if I take that recommendation of do 10,000 steps a day? And he did it every single day, and he got a few other people involved, and he's got his wife China, who does very similar things. And he did another thing of where, what if I don't eat this? What if I eat only this? What if I increase this? And just tweaking his own societal makeup to see what would happen. And that's essentially what I do. And he's been an inspiration, but it's that same mentality. And I think from watching that video with Bill Miles, it's that same mentality, and I see a lot of people doing it. And I think in a way that's a very human part of us, which we often forget about. I think we often forget, because it is so rewarding. Even if you fail, even if you don't manage to get through it, it is so rewarding to sit there and go, oh, well, what if I did this? And it's that little bit of self-satisfaction you get from sit there and going, it's like, the way to describe it. So like, let's say you had like a small mouse. You happen to find, that is a perfect, okay, so this is the perfect way to describe it. The way I can describe the sensation you get, it's like if you were a kid, maybe you are a kid, I don't know how old you are watching this. I wouldn't recommend my podcast to children. Maybe it is right for children, who knows. We discuss a lot of dark things in this. See, you're basically a kid, and you go out into a field and you find a small mouse, and your parents aren't going to let you take that mouse home, so you sneak it back into your house in a matchbox, and then you basically just have it in your room. And then you keep it in your shirt pocket. And you take it to family events, and you take it to church, and you take it to the places you go, and you take it to supermarkets. And you constantly know that you have this mouse. And nobody else knows about it. And there's a satisfaction in knowing that, which is so strong. That's exactly what it's like. When you put yourself on one of these challenges, you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for the views. You're not doing it for the clicks. You don't even tell anyone about it. You don't even discuss that you're doing it until it's done. There is that satisfaction of like having a secret, of just knowing that. Sorry, checking time. Having a secret and just knowing that, yeah, you're there, and nobody else knows it. You know, it's like eating beans for a month. Like he bought his in bulk at the start of the month, which was part of the challenge. Blah blah blah. But let's say you did that. What if for a month you just changed your diet to say, oh hey, I'm gonna eat beans for a month. Every time you went to a supermarket, there's this weird little part in your head where you'd be like, yeah, all these people struggling to find something to eat, struggling to decide what they want to eat. My decision's already been made. My decision's complete. It is succinct. I do not have to think about it. I'm just going to go to the bean aisle and pick up some beans. There's a level of understanding within yourself and going, yeah, you know what? I've simplified an area of my life in ways that other people couldn't imagine. And then you're going through all these things. There's this self-isolation factor within it of just giving yourself that private knowledge and that private comfort. Having those little private secrets, I think, is a massive importance, especially nowadays. The whole world is out there. I mean, I'm not a great example because I make a podcast and I do daily streams. So I'm purposefully putting information out there. But even if you're not, even if you're just on social media being social, even if you're talking to friends, even if you're walking through the street, a lot of your information of world is out there. Even if you're not on social media, as soon as you Google search something or search something online, that information's stored, it's going somewhere. Someone is collecting it because that's what the society we have is. So a lot of what is you is out there. So when you have something which you're not really discussing or really telling people about, is like a victory. It's like a controlled victory over society, which wants to match you to be in a certain way, in a certain box, doing a certain thing. It's defeating the world, essentially. You're controlling your own future for a moment, even if it's just a glimpsing moment. There's a great line. So I watched You've Got Mail again recently, and there's a line in that about going to Starbucks, and Starbucks is designed to give you self-satisfaction because it's a way of, and I'm going to be essentially paraphrasing, it's a way of going to a store for people who don't know how to make decisions and making several decisions at once and getting consumer satisfaction at the end of it by getting a coffee. I want a tall, skinny mocha Colombian roast, blah, 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 blah. All of that. That is exactly what Starbucks is set up to do. And these little challenges I do for myself are a way of doing that and removing myself from that consumer lifestyle, because it's all within my house. It's within my home. It's within me. It's doing something. It's getting along with it. It's pushing yourself. If you want ideas for the kinds of things you can do, so a few things which I've done for myself in the past, and a lot of them I don't continue. I just do them for that month. Giving up coffee for a month. I wouldn't recommend it, especially if you're a heavy coffee drinker. It does change your view. It changes a lot of things, but it doesn't also necessarily work on the long term. If you want to give up coffee, I wouldn't say go cold turkey. I'd say wean yourself off. I had a terrible experience. It's not something I will do again soon. But get like changing your diet a little bit, deciding you're only going to eat brown bread from now on. That's a real simple thing. Eat brown bread for a month, just see how you feel. Getting rid of bread completely, not eating bread. Just deciding, hey, I don't want to eat bread anymore. There's loads of other options other than traditional bread, so to speak. Going for a walk every day. This is one which I've seen a lot during lockdown. I know I said this wasn't a lockdown podcast, but lockdown, a lot of people are going out for walks because they've been told they can't go out for walks. And it feels like a rebellion. It feels like a little thing. I'm just going to go out for a walk, half an hour. And you could do that in your regular life. I think that's something important to remember for a lot of people. If you started doing something during lockdown, and it's given you pleasure and enjoyment whilst in lockdown, please remember when you come out of lockdown just to keep doing those things. If you've started, sewing, baking, walking, exercising in general, painting, sculpting, reading more, if you find those things enjoyable during lockdown, work them into your everyday life. Work them into everything which you've done within your standardized life, because you'll continue that happiness. These are things you would enjoy during your regular life anyway. Lockdown life can translate into that. You can move it into that. You can include it. You think, oh, I'm reading way more than I used to. I've got all this free time. So you had that time. That time exists. You're just losing it because you're ignoring it as free time because you're tired from work or blah, 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 blah. But you could read on your lunch break. You could read when you get home. You could read before you go to bed. You can read it when you wake up in the morning. That is something which I love to do. Have breakfast, have a coffee, and just read a chapter of a book. And then go to work. Think how much time you just spend. Maybe you go on YouTube, you go on Facebook, you go on, do whatever you want. Enjoy that time. Include it with your walk. Some people are saying, I'm listening to more podcasts, watching more videos, and I never had time for this before. Well, maybe if you include a 30-minute walk in your day, you can listen to a 30-minute podcast a day. I don't know. All I'm saying is that I think it's a very much human thing to do, and I think a lot of people miss out on it because they see it as like, it's a little weird, it seems like a big challenge, and it doesn't have to be a massive challenge. It doesn't even have to be anything big. It just needs to be something which you could take on board and go, hi, maybe this month I'm going to do this. Just do it 30 days. 30 days isn't long, as we've seen. We've been in lockdown 2 months now. Remember how long 30 days used to feel? And maybe it'll keep your mind occupied. I don't know. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. Maybe you think I'm being a little pedantic and self-righteous with this because I find it quite easy to do. However, I would state that I'm not better or worse than anybody, and I think everybody's capable. I think you just need that little bit of encouragement. And if you want to tell people about it, show people off, fair enough, do that. But I feel like you'll get more satisfaction just doing it and not telling people about it. I mean, I do. But that's just me. I hope you guys are staying safe and well. I hope you're looking after yourselves and looking after those around you. It's been lovely to talk to you. I'll talk to you guys later.